mandatory retirement ages in a lot of fields, and yet we do not have them for our politicians. So do you think there should be an age cap, not gap, cap? Old folks need not apply to for our politicians. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. I'm going to 100% full-throated say yes. Absolutely. Yes. There is no reason that Chuck Grassley, and this has nothing to do with party. I think Joe Biden was too old. I think Donald Trump is too old. I think Chuck Grassley is too old twice. I think, all these guys and ladies, Diane Feinstein?
Yeah. She literally died in office.
Yes, they kept her alive just so she could vote. Stop with this. Well, I'm not the only one who thinks that way. An overwhelming majority of Americans, actually 8 in 10, are in favor of setting age caps as well as term limits for members of Congress, according to the latest NPR PBS News Marist poll. Count me as one of those 8.
Yes.
So both ideas are hypothetical because, God forbid, we actually make significant change. Neither is being seriously considered by Congress. One, because they don't want to, and 2, because maybe they're too old to read them. Support for each cuts across many backgrounds and party lines. The poll found 78% of Democrats support both age caps and term limits, and 83% of Republican-backed maximum age limits. Nearly 9 in 10 supported term limits. So why? I know it's hypothetical, but why aren't we doing it? We talk about it all the time. There's no... If at 65, and 65 is not old, 65 you can still do a lot of stuff. But in the private sector, 65 people are being put out to pasture who could still do their job very well. Why are we having 92-year-olds and 84-year-olds? And this is not ageist at all, because I'm closer to those ages than I am to Parker's age. But
I mean,
it's time.
There's term limits for the president, so why aren't there term limits for the people?
There used to be.
There should be. There is constitutionally. There is what we know as of right now. But for people in Congress, there should also be term limits, and these people should not be serving for decades. In some cases, a literal lifetime. Chuck Grassley, who you mentioned, is one of those people. Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, you mentioned Chuck Schumer as well. The list actually goes on and on. We have more people right now serving in Congress who have been in their seat for 30-plus years or more than we have for less than a decade.
This is not how the system was set up. And their defense is, well, the first couple years you're still getting your footing and you can't really get stuff done. Well, how about this? I don't get 2 years at my job to get my footing.
Right.
I get probably, if I'm lucky, 60 days, most likely 30 days. In some cases, you better hit the ground running that first day or you're out. So if you're running, you should have plans in place and you should be ready to make a mark, because how it was set up, this whole system was farmers and everybody came in, they did a little time in Congress, and then they went back to their real jobs. Right. Congress was not supposed to be a job where you could make millions and millions of dollars instead of serving the people. This was not and I know things change, but the whole system that we operate under was meant as to serve, not to profit. And it has not turned out that way at all.
I mean, I would love to see some sort of change in several rules that apply to members of Congress, not only from the term limits. I also think, and again, this isn't ageist, but as we get older, sometimes our brains just aren't as sharp. We're tired. I think there should also be a cap on when people can actually throw their hat into the ring to actually run.
That gets to the cap. If you decide to run, let's say the cap is 70. Let's just say.
Sure.
Senate's six-year term. You can't run after 64.
Right.
You're going to age out. And unless you want to serve, then on your 70th birthday, we have a sheet cake from Costco as we toss your behind out of the Capitol. That's not going to work. So yes, you have to. You got to have that. You got to have the age thing in there. And this is just what was interesting about this, because I know there's some people who are probabilistic going, they just don't like old people. Well, in this poll, it didn't matter. Old people were just as likely to support age caps and term limits as younger voters. So everybody outside of Congress who is not, bellied up to the trough making their money looks at this and says, yeah, this makes sense. There's no reason this is happening.
If you want to chime in this morning, we'd love to hear from you. If you think there should be an age cap for politicians, 1-855-752-4842, 1-855-75-CIVIC. Jim chimes in over on our text line this morning. He says a money cap needs to be introduced. I fully agree with that as well. I believe when I say that there should be several reforms put into place for members of Congress, how much they can actually profit, what they're able to invest in, how they're able to make money while they're in office, all of those things need to be top to bottom looked at again. And I know they've tried. It's actually been the Republicans who have chose to not take those bills up. And in fact, Wisconsin's old Ron Johnson had many, many words to say about how Congress people should actually be able to profit while in office. But,
listening to what you just said, and I know Rojo loves to make that bag. Is that going to make it worse or better? If I know I only have 2 to 3 terms in the Senate, I got to make my money fast. So I can't milk this.
Profit at all. Like
I understand that, and I agree with it.
I would love to see something where they absolutely, not only is there an age cap, but you can't profit at all. You can't make any sort of money. And the fact that
we already have that for the presidency, and you see how that's working out.
Well, it's not working well. Obviously,
it's not working well at all.
Remember, we need reforms. I truly believe that there are some places of government that need major reform.
It makes sense to just pull back a little bit. And here's what they say. Besides it takes us a while to get going. Well, who's going to run? If we have to have Congress people run every couple terms, or their term limits are up and we got to find new candidates, how are we going to find new candidates? There's probably not really corrupt old people anymore. So you got to find maybe less corrupt young people, maybe some fresh ideas, maybe start with the top, maybe the president. Maybe we definitely need to start an age limit on the president. Sure. Right now, an age
There's
cap.
already an age when
you can't run if you're
to run, right?
Right, you got to be 35 to run.
Right.
So if you got to be 35 to run, I think you got to retire and it's going to see. And I know the other argument. There's going to be some people here who are 75, 80. Maybe they're listening to us and I'm still really sharp. I can make decisions. Yes, you can. But I want you to go and sit with all your friends. Are all your other 80-year-old friends as able to make those decisions? I'm going to guarantee no. So the exception cannot be the rule here. The rule has to be the rule.
There's also a physical toll that being president of the United States takes on somebody, right? Like
yes.
you look at how Barack Obama is a perfect example. Okay,
he was the first one that popped into my mind.
Right? I hate to always bring him up, but you look at how young and vibrant and jovial he looked in 2008 when he was elected. Making that big speech from Chicago to his very last day in office. And I get it's 8 years, but it is a hard job. It is not easy.
Well, if you're doing it right, it's a hard job.
Well, yes, that's what I was going to say.
It's supposed to be a hard job. And I think two terms for a president, that's fine.
Yes.
I think when you're doing the Senate, 2 terms is plenty. That gives you over a decade. If you can win
12 years.
It's 12 years. That's enough. Now it's time for somebody else to come in. You don't get to belly up, get in a district, and then just stay there hoping that you never, because you spend all your time campaigning.
Right.
That's what they do. Campaigning
or not,
and
because
finding
you just
pork.
assume that you're just going to be in that role because you've been there for so long. And here's
Could
the
it
thing.
be because your district's been gerrymandered
well,
so
there
much?
you go. And that's exactly what it is.
Right.
And I think what is fascinating about what you just said, Brian, is that this isn't just about their age. It also becomes about perspective. I mean, things change when you've been in office for as long as Chuck Grassley has, representing Iowa. Technology, housing, student debt, workforce changes. All of those things shape how the people you represent live, and people in Washington don't keep up with that, right? They're
no,
not.
You think
keeping
Chuck
up with
Grassley knows how much a gallon of milk is, or how much gas is? You think Chuck Grassley's ever had to go out and try to Most of them have never had to try to find a real job.
Right.
Well, unemployment's low. It's only 3%. Yeah, Chuck, get out there and try to find a job at 3%, no matter how qualified you are, whether it's a minimum wage position or something more advanced. Try to find a job after you're 50, Chuck. You're not going to have any luck doing it. So, and the weird part about this, I said that older people and young people both support it. Gen X had the highest level of support for both term and age limits. And those are, again, if you're not familiar, late 40s to early 60s. So people who would be affected by this age cap the most are the ones saying, yes, everybody can see it. Everybody knows it. You can make all the arguments you want, but it just comes down. Perspective is a great point. Just physical ability is a great point. Cognitive, I don't care how sharp you are. There is always some level of cognitive decline. Some it's very minor, some it's very major. We've seen it before. We're seeing it, I believe, a little bit now. But come on, it's a hard job. You shouldn't be dropping somebody in there who has to worry if they've had their Metamucil this morning.
We have several people chiming in on social media and on our text line this morning. John from Oshkosh, listening on WISS, says maybe an income limit on who can run. If you're a multimillionaire or billionaire, you should be barred from making policy you profit from. And he also agrees there definitely should be an age cap. Alicia says she agrees with the age cap and the money cap. Thank you for texting in on our YouTube chat this morning. Chad, also over on YouTube, saying yes, we should have an age cap. Keith saying reforms formulated by the very people that need to be reformed. Oh, no. Let me be clear. When I say reforms, we're probably going to need some sort of commission that is put in by a different administration, and perhaps when there are more adults in the room from both sides of the party where they can actually come to some sort of agreement. I mean, I didn't say reforms are going to happen overnight. No. I believe they should, but it is going to take.
All right, where do you put the age? What's your cap?
For my cap?
What's your cap for? Do we have the same cap for president and Congress, or do we have floating caps?
I would say it would, for me personally, I would probably cap it at somewhere between 65 and 70. Because as you pointed out, if you're 70, you get elected, you're done in 6 years, you're 76, you're almost pushing 80 at that point, if you're a senator. I would like to see it at around 65 because that still takes you out of office and put somebody with fresh ideas, perhaps younger, when you're still in your early 70s. And for a lot of people, you could still go out, you could still do things, you could still work, because I get, some people in their early 70s. So I think about it like that. But 65, man, I don't know.
I'll kick it to 70 where you have to be, if you're running for Senate, if you're, if you're at that age, you're only going to get to run for one term. So I'll go 70 is the out the door age.
Yep.